Teryl Austin is once again speaking to the media.
Because then that makes everybody practice a little harder, play a little harder, get a little better as football players, and then it's our job just to make sure the best football players are out there for us.
TA, you have a number of defensive players on the team from the Big Ten, including your last two picks. What is it about that conference and the defensive guys that they're producing?
Well, I think when you look at it, I don't know if we look at the conference, but I mean, if you're looking at it, they're going to play, they're going to run the ball. You're going to see teams that have, line up and run the ball. It's not going to be a finesse football game. You're going to see guys that have to play in different weather, different kind of conditions, things that are similar to here in Pittsburgh. And so a lot of times, sometimes you'll be picking the unknown and not haven't seen a guy play in those type of weather conditions or things like that, but you know all those things about guys from the Big Ten. And so, I mean, I'm sure there's a comfort level. I don't know how much that really goes into it, but it obviously is something there.
Along those lines, additionally, Wisconsin specifically with the odd man front, how much easier is it? I mean, I know positionless football nowadays on defense, but is it easier to project what a guy can do when he's already in that scheme at that level?
Yeah, I think it's always easier when you see a guy do the things you want. There's always less of a projection and more of a certainty, so to say, about what he can do. And then, you just hope that as he gets here, he continues to do that and continues to get better at his craft.
Are there more similarities than just the odd man front with Wisconsin? It seems like every year you guys go back to Wisconsin for defense.
Yeah, well, I think there's probably some similarities, and there's some good football players. They kind of, I think when you look at a lot of those guys, they kind of fit a Steeler mold. They're tough, they're hard-nosed, blue-collar guys, and you know what you're getting when you get a guy from that school. He's going to be tough, he's going to be physical, he's going to give you everything he has, and so I think there's a comfort level, obviously, in that.
How much of a goal or an agenda has it been to build up the depth along the defensive line, not only with him, but the two guys you got in free agency this past off season too, to get more quality reps when Ogunjobi and Hayward aren't playing, for instance?
Absolutely. I think, again, as I mentioned, you want to make sure you have that quality depth because the games are won up front. And I remember a couple years ago when we weren't very good in up front. We got guys hurt and beat up, and we weren't very good up front. We struggled to stay in games, and so I think it's a real thing to make sure that we have quality depth, good guys. We know who our frontline guys are, who are the guys that are going to be playing a lot of snaps when those guys aren't available, and I think that is, again, it makes us a better team, it makes us a stronger team, and I like that. I think everybody likes that.
Mike was talking about nose tackle earlier this offseason, how maybe just because teams are running the ball more doesn't necessarily mean it's more reps for noses because it's run out of pass formations. But when you look in the division, I mean, it seemed like Baltimore was running multiple tight ends out there most of the time. I mean, that game here was sort of lost because the defense couldn't stop the run at the end of it. Do you feel like that was specifically like something, maybe just because the division you guys play in is more important for you than it is for a generic NFL team right now?
Yeah, I think that's part of our identity. It's important for us. I mean, if you're going to beat Cleveland, you better be able to stop Chubb. If you're going to beat Baltimore, you better be able to stop the run. If you're going to beat Cincinnati, we know what the quarterback and those guys are going to do, but you better be able to stop Joe Mixon and those guys from running. So I think it's important that the first thing you got to do is win your division, and if you can't beat the guys in your division, then you're going to have a hard time winning it. So I'm sure we have those things in mind. We're getting those big guys up front to make sure we can stop the run, even if they're running out of pass formations. It doesn't matter. You still got to lay your hands on people and get off blocks and stop those running backs.
DL Keeanu is a 4-year senior at Wisconsin. When you watch the tape of him, does he stand out as a veteran for the college level? Do you see anything advanced coming from him?
I think so. I think when you watch a guy that's it makes it all the way to 4 years, you can see his game is a little more polished than maybe a young guy. So you're going to see his technique's going to be a little bit more refined. What he sees, how he sees blocking schemes is going to be a little bit better than maybe a younger guy. And I think those things show up on tape with him.
TA, there's not a ton of sack production that Keeanu put up in college, but he said he didn't get a ton of opportunities just to pin his ears back and just go at a quarterback. What about his game and about his move set specifically gives you a belief that he has that pass rush upside?
I think when you watch a guy that's explosive, he's heavy-handed. He gets extension on guys. I think when you see those things and you see that he can roll his hips, I think, Dunbar and those guys do a great job in terms of teaching guys rush plans and how to use their strengths to become a better rusher. And I think he has some of the baseline abilities. So that's what we see. And that's why we think that, we're counting on him to be a run stopper, but getting some bonus out of him as a pass rusher.
From what you've seen over the last 4 years, will Cam Hayward be a loving, nurturing mentor, or will he be a tough love, on top of Keanu mentor in that room?
I bet you he'll probably be a little bit of both. Cam's really good. He'll show him some tough love, but he knows when to put his arm around a guy and bring him along with him. And I think that's the neat thing about Cam. He's been in this business a long time, and he was that guy 100 years ago, but he was that guy. And so he knows what it's like to be a young guy coming in a room with some really good veteran players. And so I think he'll push him, but he'll know when to put his arm around a guy and grab, hey, come on, man, let's go.
Yeah, you have guys like that at all three levels, though. With Peterson and TJ and Cam, how much of a luxury is that? Every team's got a mix of young and old, but you have older guys that are high pedigree and still productive.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. And the thing that really is really unique is our guys really like to give back to the others in the room. You can't say that everywhere, but I can say that here. I can say that confidently here that those guys, they want the other guys in that room to play well, and they help them along because they know it helps our team. And so I can't say enough good things about how our vets interact with our younger guys and what they try to do with them. Again, I have not seen Patrick P. in that role, but I know how our older guys, I know how Joe Hayden was. I know how he was with the younger guys in the room, and I just see that here, that dynamic in our room, in that defensive room going on.
Last two, if there are two. Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
We're going to see you back here.
Thanks, Bill.
I'll be back in 20 minutes.
All right, welcome back downstairs. Missi Matthews with Mike Prisuta. Joey Porter Jr. is off to do other things, but that was defensive coordinator Teryl Austin talking about the Steelers' second round pick, number 49, Keeanu Benton, out of Wisconsin.
Yeah, and I thought TA did a pretty good job of summarizing a guy who's not necessarily flashy, but he has the versatility that I believe the Steelers are looking for as they inject some youth onto that defensive line, not just in terms of Benton being able to move up and down the defensive line, something he did at Wisconsin, but he's mostly a kind of traditional nose tackle type, 6'3 3/4, 309 pounds, but he's not just a run-stuffing nose tackle. You look at the numbers, and they don't jump off the stat sheet at you, Missy, but he did have 9 career sacks and 21 career starts at nose tackle. That's a lot for a nose tackle. This past season, he had 10 tackles for a loss. That was a career high. He had 11 quarterback hits in 2022. It's a guy who can play on the other side of the line of scrimmage. When you can do that, you're disruptive. Now, if you do that and you pile up a bunch of numbers, then you're productive. But disruptive is a nice start. It's good to have a guy that can be effective against the run and the pass from a variety of spots up and down the line of scrimmage. Some of these highlights you're seeing here are from the Senior Bowl, and Daniel Jeremiah of NFL.com and the NFL Network was really impressed by Keanu Benton at the Senior Bowl in particular. Outstanding is the word that Jeremiah used. Also, if you want a stat to make you go, that's interesting, he ran the 40 at the Combine in 5.08 seconds. That was the 8th fastest among the interior defensive linemen.
You mentioned the Senior Bowl, something that Mike Tomlin loves to go to this year. You saw him working very hands-on with the offensive linemen, but he must have been a guy that piqued their interest. They not only, talked to him at various points, including the Senior Bowl, but they brought him here to Pittsburgh as one of their pre-draft visits, a chance to get to know him a little bit more. He played football in high school, also was a wrestler, and when he was talking to the media upstairs just a little bit ago, was just talking about, the Wisconsin guys that keep coming here to the Steelers. TJ Watt, of course, everybody knows, but Isaiah Loudermilk is here, and they added Nate Herbig in free agency as well. There's
a lot around the league, Missy, and I don't know if you know this about me. I watch a fair amount of Big Ten football.
Just a little bit, yeah.
And that's a very good program. They do it the way they do it, and they do it consistently that way. Also, Eddie Faulkner
Yeah.
The running backs coach spent some time in Madison, Wisconsin.
Sure did.
I believe even Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator, spent a little time in Madison, Wisconsin. There's a consistent standard, and they live up to it. You know what you're getting with these guys. And I think Benton, it's just, I hate to sound redundant on these little hits we're doing, but it's another box checked, right? We talked about offensive tackle. We talked about cornerback. Defensive line was high up on the list of things that people either thought they would address or wanted to see them address. So this thing's progressing nicely. Although I got to say, after the few minutes we got to spend with Joey Porter Jr., I haven't seen anybody smile like that in quite some time. He is ready, as he said. That just being around him in this moment of euphoria for him was pretty cool.
Yeah, his mom also was in studio. She was very excited as well. But I love that Joey Porter Jr. said, you know, Mike Tomlin said right away, this is business, and you can tell that both guys will treat it as such. So 2 Big Ten guys
yeah, they
going.
say that, but I mean, come on, this is a little cherry on top of the sundae, right?
Oh, for sure. But I can also see, you know, this being a like Cam Hayward, Mike Tomlin relationship where it's, you know each other so well. There's a little bit of jabs taking place, and I'm sure he's not going to make it easy on him.
Yeah.
You know, I think people are probably already thinking about training camp and who you're going to see Joey Porter Jr. going against. You know, last year we saw Minka Fitzpatrick going against George Pickens and different things like that. So Coach Tomlin likes to put people in these situations, and I think we're going to see plenty of them coming up.
The other thing that was kind of impressive seeing him out of uniform, just walking over here to sit down.
He's a big guy.
He is a big kid.
All right, well, the Steelers still have one more pick here today on day 2 that will happen in the 3rd round, pick number 80, and we'll be back to break that down for you after it happens. Thanks for joining us.